Handle your high with Tadayoshi. Here we go, and this is Tadayoshi. This is Handle Your High with Tadayoshi. I have my wonderful guest, Dorian Yates, 4-time Mr. Olympia. Everybody thinks I think you win more than that, or six times Mr. Olympia. Everybody thinks you win probably one or two more than that.
Don't change me.
I know. I just talked with.
Do you work for Sean Ray?
No. I was just talking with Bill Heath the other day. I just did his interview, and it was kind of funny. It's keeping track of everybody who how many exact Olympia wins people have, especially the guys like you and Sean and.
I don't know how many fellas won now. Is it
seven? Seven.
Okay, so he missed out on the 8.
He missed out on the 8. Yeah, we'll see what happens. When I spoke with him, it sounded like he's going to probably come back and this year, if his surgery heals well enough and he feels competent enough or close enough to his best. He doesn't want to go there if he doesn't want to be his best. I kind of think, just given what I know of him, and I think he'll probably make it work. But we'll see. I mean, it'll be a great.
If he's at his best, then I would think that he would win. But
yeah, well, that's what I think, and I think that's what he thinks as well. So, but I think he's going to give himself the latitude to be able to power it down if he gets partway through this year and decides, hey, look, I'm not progressing the way I want. It's a nice, safe sort of bet. But I heard there were discussions with Kai Green. He might throw his hat in there a little bit. We'll see.
It would be interesting for the fans if that happened.
Yeah, there hasn't been many really great rivalries. I mean, you had some great rivalries, but
you had the Kai and Phil thing a little bit, like 1 year or 2 years, I guess. There was this rivalry there, but there was quite a lot. There was a lot of very close when I was competing. So there's a lot of kind of potential rivalries there in the top 10.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'd love to get your perspective. When you were competing, I grew up in the 90s with all the late 80s and the 90s, so you were a big part of my bodybuilding sort of history, and I was a big fan. Of course, you were actually one of the first Mr. Olympias that I ever saw in person. You guest posed at the Emerald Cup in 1991. I competed that year in that show.
Don't tell me. That was in Seattle.
Seattle, correct? Yes. Yes,
yeah,
that was.
I suppose there. I'm not sure if I was Olympia then. If I was not the winner of the Olympia.
I don't think you were the Mr. Olympia, but it was pretty much expected that you were going to do some pretty awesome shit.
So, I got second to Haney, and that's when everyone recognized that I'd arrived and got a lot of requests for guest posing and so on. I didn't do a lot. I mean, I came to the States, but it was everyone I did was crazy. I mean, it was sold out. Like, you had no internet or anything then, so you just had a magazine and a chance to go see this guy for real in the flesh at a seminar or a contest. Those things were like sold out crazy. So I had some good times going around the States, major cities there, doing some appearances.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first. I'd never seen a pro, let alone somebody who was that close to being Mr. Olympia, right there up in the flesh, up close. And I remember being in awe. I was like, when you walked on the stage, I had to tell you the story because you guest posed, and there was my brother took almost as many pictures of you as he did of me when I got 1 point away from winning the whole show. So, but it was. I remember you walk on stage. I was actually more excited that evening to see you guest pose. And when I looked out there, and I could swear, man, maybe it was just my imagination, I could swear the stage rumbled when you walked on it because you looked so huge. It was
like near 300 pounds or something. But I mean, like I said, it was very exciting days for people because it's not like now you see everybody's every other move on the internet, very accessible. Yeah. Like, it was a bit more, I don't know what the word is. Romantic or something then, because I was a fan myself, right? I used to buy all the magazines.
That's how you got your information, right? That's everybody.
Flats in the like in the flesh, and this happens to me. So I tell the guys, hey, don't worry, man. It used to happen to me. I mean, Tom Platz was my idol. This super intense trainer and the blonde hair and the tan and from the California, the whole image. But the main thing, because he was such a hardcore trainer and the legs, was insane from another planet. I probably had 1,000 questions I would love to ask this guy, but when I met him, I was just like,
That's
People come to me and they're like, "Man, I had 100 questions for you, but now I'm here. I don't know what to say."
It all left me.
Flesh and blood, just like you, and it happened to me when I was a kid. I was a huge fan, so I understand, and I understand that whatever interaction you have with the fans is very important for them on a personal level. So even if you're having a bad day or you're tired, and I try to make an effort to like be, to be smiling and to be nice and give them some time and give them a little boost for their, experience that meant me. It's going to be a good experience.
Do you find that your experience today as you in the sport of bodybuilding, still participating in the sport, how would you contrast your popularity or your fans today versus what you experienced in the 90s?
Well, it's crazy because, I guess because of social media and the other work that podcasts I've been doing with Rogan and London Real and everything like that. I don't know, my fan base is as huge as it ever was, but it's different now. Most of the guys that come to see me, they're probably not even born when seriously, I got guys that are 20 years old, in the teens, early 20s. That seems to be the majority of the people that are coming up, and that is because, they're introduced to the sport now, I suppose, and they're the people that's in the sport. And then through social media, they start to find out about myself and Flex Wheeler and Kevin and this whole era and so on. So that's one part of it. And the other part is just the speaking I've been doing on Joe Rogan and London Real. Now it's a different reaction that I get. Now it's just not strictly related to, hey, you're a fucking monster and I want to get like you and all this kind of stuff. That's my past and people know that. But now there's this aspect of course, but there's also another aspect of what I'm doing now and what I'm talking about. And I just came back from India. I had it in India and had it in a place before that. So it's happening all the time now. At least 2 or 3 people are coming to, everybody's coming and saying they love the talks I'm doing and keep doing it. 2 or 3 people are coming and seriously, they're grabbing my hand, they're looking me deep in the eyes and they're saying, "Man, you don't understand, man. You saved my life. You literally saved my life with what you're talking about and inspired me."
The stuff that you're talking about now?
Yeah, I talked about other stuff that I've been through and depression and all this, life, man. Life hits all of us, right?
Exactly. I know that.
When I was a kid and I used to read the magazines, and these guys, I didn't have a father around, so I guess these guys are almost like surrogate fathers or male role models that I was looking at, right? And I thought these guys were just so perfect and their life is so perfect and blessed, and they're on the beach and then they're training and they must be all like super lovely moralistic people and this illusion I had, and I guess I realized that it wasn't quite like that when
I think when it comes to our heroes, whether they be sports heroes, athletic heroes, or even just other people we idolize, I know we sort of transpose some of the best characteristics of ourselves and what we want from ourselves onto them. And then people get disappointed sometimes when they find out that it's not the case.
We're human and we're having this experience, and it's not easy, man. It's not easy. And people have ups, they have downs, they have challenges that come along. And, I think it's good not to judge people because you never know what their experience was until you're walking a little while in their shoes.
I think that's one of the strongest lessons. I'm 48 now, and one of the strongest lessons I've learned in the last 48 years has been that when I meet somebody new, or when I talk to somebody new, or when I hear about somebody else's experience, no matter what it is, whether they be a drug addict or whether they be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, I try to reserve my judgment, and actually I'm not casting any judgment whatsoever about what kind of a person, who they are, what they've done. Because it really it would be very much like somebody stepping into my life with a magnifying glass, like looking at one incident and going, "You're a bad person because of this," or "You're this." And when in reality, like you just said, you have to really walk, as they say, walk a mile in a person's shoes.
And who are you anyway?
Yeah, no, it's tough enough to walk in our own shoes.
You're just the imagination of yourself, and who you imagine yourself to be now is not the guy you imagined yourself to be 10 years ago. So I could go back in time in 10 or 20 years and meet Dorian and think, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Oh, that's not right.
You're off your rocker, man.
So we're all at a certain level of development and information and learning. So, you know, if I'm going to judge somebody else, I have to judge myself from the past, because I'm doing stuff that I think that's not beneficial now. I don't want to do that because I'm in a different place.
So when you look at your history, like, did you conceive you'd be being the person that you are today when you were like in your heyday, when you were so focused? I remember watching interviews and reading. I mean, of course, like you said, all we really had was like magazine articles and stuff like that, and then
some VHS tapes. And
there was some, and you did and later on you did all the blood and gut stuff with your workout videos, and which, by the way, those are still like, I still get like clients of mine talk about them. I still have people they're still some of the best workout videos, and I tell a story that you told me on my show the last time about how they were trying to spray you up when you guys first conceived the idea, and you said, "Fuck this! Let's do real workouts." And we're like, "This is bullshit," and I'm like, and that comes across in the videos, and so many people love that.
Bullshit, man.
What was that?
People recognize real. You know, they recognize real things. They recognize when you're being real and when you're being honest. And I think it's a little bit rare these days. So people appreciate that when they see that and then they feel that. And going back to what I was talking about before, is that, you know, I've told people about my problems, and, you know, I've had ups and downs, and I've been vulnerable and this and that, and it helps them because they think, wow, this guy I look up to, I mean, you know, he's human, and he went through this and he did it and he's okay and he came out the other side. So it's not just me that has to face it, first of all. You know, other people have done it and they've gone through it and they come out the other side and they're okay.
There's a couple, two of the characteristics that I hear a lot that are prized by a lot of people, fans. They will contact me and compliment me on these two things, and they've also said the same thing about you. They said the same thing about many other people. Jay Cutler's one of them, and that is that they're I'm down to earth, and that I'm real. I'm honest. I'm not trying to, and I'm nice to everybody. And this kind of thing, so that kind of genuine sort of authenticity that you have as a person. And you seem today, and I think I might have mentioned this a couple years ago when I interviewed you last time, you seem today like you're so much more at ease with yourself. You're so much happier. You seem just more, just a brighter sort of a person. Because when I remember, now again, I was just a fan, just an aspiring bodybuilder fan.
You're right. That guy was me, man.
Yeah, you just seemed, you seemed very determined. You seemed very
It's just like a laser focus, and almost not really seeing things. People, sometimes they thought I was like off or arrogant or something. It's just like I was in my own world, man. I was just focused.
Well, that was very apparent. Like I didn't hold it against you. I just thought, wow, man, I want to be like that. Yeah. But it did seem like that. But it seems like today you're very comfortable in your own skin. And what would you say was the changing point? What turned was it just a slow evolutionary process for you? Because you seem so much more at ease.
Process, but the psychedelic experiences I had, I mean, they're a real catalyst for change and self-discovery and loss of the ego and so on. So I'm sure that's had a big effect. And interestingly, was watching Joe Rogan a couple of days ago, and Tyson's on there.
He talked about that. I saw a couple of blips where he talked about it.
I mean, exactly the same experience. He hasn't done ayahuasca, which I think is really the most beneficial experience. He did DMT, and like his description of smoking DMT is exactly that. Like if you do it properly and you smoke it, that hits you. And it reminds me of being a kid when I was a kid, and I got on that big roller coaster. And as it was going up and it was about to go over the edge, I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I wish I wasn't here. I don't want to be here. But then it's too late.
He says, I think Mike Tyson said, it was like, no, yeah.
You get some real anxiety because you feel like you lose total control, and that you're somehow losing your body or something like this that you fucking need, right? So there's a few seconds of panic before you kind of go, and usually start laughing.
That's and I wanted to talk about that because I'm really these days I've been really doing a lot of research the last probably about a year and a half. but more intensely the last 6 months, 9 months on like DMT, on psilocybin. I love that Joe Rogan puts a lot of time on his podcast with some of it, talking about dispelling some of the myths, but also talking about some of the specifics of what it is and how it can be beneficial or how it's helped other people. What has been your experience like? Because it's something I want to do, and we talked about this a little bit. You have an experience that you host each. I guess it's once a year.
Not only that, sorry man, someone's going to call me on my phone. I'm going to turn it off. All right, phone's off.
Okay.
So I had my experiences. DMT, of course, that we just discussed. I've done acid as well, and mushrooms I've done once or twice. I didn't really.
Those are more visual, from what I understand. Again, right?
Yeah, mushrooms is a bit like, I felt it was a bit like cartoonish, like I was a bit in an animation, and it's funny and everything, but, it's really, I'm trying to use it as a tool for self-improvement and discovery and so on. So the most beneficial is to do ayahuasca properly in a ceremony.
That's what you prefer, is the ayahuasca journey?
Yeah, and so I've done that a few times in Spain. There's a guy coming here from Peru who's one of the top Shipibo shamans in the world. So these guys, they control the ceremony, they control the energy, and this is knowledge that they work with the plant. It's been passed down generations, and they do a lot of stuff. I mean, they go into isolation, they go on special diets, all this kind of stuff.
So maybe you could walk, and this is walk me through what that experience would be like. Because I've heard so many stories, and I've talked to a couple of different people, and some people go through a diet thing, and some people just do a purge.
That's exactly how it is. And so this is how I started with doing it in Spain. And then London Real, I don't know if you're familiar with London Real.
Yeah, I saw your interview. It's wonderful.
And the team from London Real went out to Costa Rica, and they did a ayahuasca themselves at this place called Soltara. So I called Brian while I was out there, and how's it going? It's like, he said, this place is amazing, it's fantastic. So I said, okay, I might want to go there, because Costa Rica is like a beautiful paradise as well, and why not visit there and do the same? So that's how it started, and I started talking with the people there, and they're like, you've done these podcasts, and there's a lot of people following you and interested in this, the ayahuasca experience. I said, yeah, I get people asking me all the time, like, where to do it, but I don't recommend it anywhere, because I've never found anywhere where I would be comfortable to recommend. So to cut a long story short, what we did is we put together a camp there in November with myself hosting. So I'm there for the week in Soltara in Costa Rica, which is a beautiful, amazing location, with a real professional team, with before care, during care, and after care. And this is very important, because the other ones I've done haven't really got that. So and by the way, the second camp we're doing in June. So if you're interested, you can go to soltara.co and look for a Dorian Yates camp there. It's June the 2nd. We had 20 people there, and during a week, I saw 20 people lives transformed. I mean, it was amazing. One of the most amazing weeks in my life, personally for me, and for like watching all the people there. So I was kind of like a team leader, a mentor, if you like. So they get to hang out with me in the day, and we do stuff. And at night is the ceremony. At the ceremony, I don't have anything to do with that, because I'm just like everybody else. So everything's explained to you. Before you go there, you go on a special diet, which is restrictive. So
that's to help clean the body out. Is that what it is?
The body, and get it ready for the plant energy or the plant spirit. So there's at least a week before you go there where there's no alcohol, no weed, nothing mind altering, no coffee, no sex, which is a tough one. But
that's a tough one. Shit. I'm gonna have to cancel my trip. I'm just kidding.
So, anyway, they give you all the instructions. This is to prepare your body. And when you go there, and they really take care of these people. The food there is amazing. The care, they explain everything. They have meetings all the time to explain everything. They have integration sharing groups in between the ceremonies.
Is that to talk about your experience?
Yeah, to talk about your experience as much or as little as you want to. I mean,
Do they record it? Or are you able to record it? Because my idea was to record it and put it on my podcast and share it with people.
Don't film it inside the ceremony, because it's very private.
Right. Oh, obviously.
So the first day there is kind of settling in and getting information, and the second day also have a lot of meetings. So everyone's prepared for the ceremony. When you go to the ceremony, you have your place, which is like a mattress, and this is your spot where you're going to stay. And during the ceremony, there's no communication with people, and you're not talking to your buddy next door, and none of this. It's very disciplined. Even I went with my wife, and we were separated because you're going to have your own experience. And if your wife's there, she's having a tough time, she's crying or whatever is going on, you might feel like you want to go, and that's going to
it disrupts your own experience, right?
But I have people there all the time walking around, very trained people that if anyone's in distress or feeling bad or whatever, they're there, right? And then you've got the shamans doing their job. So once you settle in, everyone goes once at a time to get the drink in a ceremonial fashion. Then you go back down and sit in your space. And after about 30 minutes or whatever, it starts kicking in. And the shaman, you would have spoken to the shaman before. So he knows who you are. He knows why you're there. He knows what your concerns are, what you want to work on, or what your traumas are, whatever it is, the reason you're there. He knows. And he will come. He goes to each person and sings like special songs. They're called carols.
Oh.
They're like, I guess they're vibrational.
I heard this, yes.
Energy of the plant. So you would have met the shaman before, and he would know you, and he'd know that you're Tad, and he would know that this is your background and these are your concerns. And he'll also probably visually be able to see things. This is what you need, and this is what you need to work on.
So he literally helps guide you, literally.
He'll come and he'll be with you for like 10 minutes. And there was a man and a woman shaman there, so they both come around and give you, your own kind of songs. And this goes on for hours while they're doing it for everybody. And then you're kind of in your own world, and it's not something that's very easy to describe because it's so multi-angle. Like, you're getting inspiration, you're getting visuals, you're getting things coming to you, you're looking at situations and relationships and things from different angles, you're getting messages. It's like, it's really hard to describe. But, I mean, you're going inside yourself, and you might think, was a guy there, he was like, I came here because I was not sure about my career, and I wanted to change my job and this and that. He's like, the first night he was coming out, he was like, I just wanted to come here about my career. I fucking blown my mind apart.
He's like, I turned my life upside down now.
And, everybody by the end of the week, and most of them were there because they were gym related, but some of them brought friends along that were obviously not from the gym. And they, by the end of the week, we're just one huge family. Everyone's keeping in touch now in a WhatsApp group.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it's an experience that you'll never forget, and you will not be the same afterwards. It will change your life for a positive direction, and for everybody that's a different thing. But right. You will be there being very happy you went there. I mean, everybody was over the moon, and a lot of them are coming back for the second camp.
So what, how would you contrast a ayahuasca journey with a DMT journey, like doing either?
DMT journey, you can do it sitting in your living room, and you smoke it, and you'll go for like maximum 10 minutes, and you'll come back, and that will be the experience, and you will just have so much. It's like having a computer. I don't know shit about computers, so my description's wrong. But let's say you got a computer which can hold 1,000 megabytes or whatever it is. But now you're trying to fucking download 1 million in there. Oh, wow. So while you're there during this DMT, it's like you've solved all the problems to life, what it's about, and right. But you can't bring it back with you because you can't hold it all. So that's why it's really hard to describe. But I mean, you just know, what you perceive through your senses is really a little slither of nothing. I mean, everything is there's just so much more out there. So now you know when you've done DMT. But how useful is it in a therapeutic way? I'll question that. But, I mean, after you've done DMT, I mean, your world's going to change. You're going to know there's just, way more out there, right?
Yeah, I've heard that I've heard that it's also can be fairly visual as well. Like, you'll see fractals and you'll...
But I mean, ayahuasca contains DMT.
Yeah.
But it's mixed with another plant, which means it can last for much, much longer. So it's working. The ayahuasca is probably working for 3 or 4 hours. So you're downloading this, and you're experiencing this, and you're doing things, and you just get so much more from it. Especially with the shaman. The shaman's doing stuff for you that you don't even know he's doing. He's pulling negative energy out of your field. He's doing stuff for you, and he doesn't tell you what it's doing exactly.
It sounds like with the ayahuasca, at least, it sounds like that because it's coming at you in spoonfuls, if you will. Like you can retain more. Is that kind of?
It's not coming in spoonfuls because you only have 1 or 2 drinks. So
okay.
you hit it once.
The experience is coming in instead of being.
It's I think, if I'm not incorrect, there's like a vine and there's a leaf. Uh-huh. One of them contains DMT and one of them contains something else, which extends the effect of DMT in the body for hours. And how these guys came across this, like,
who knows, right?
Who knows, man? It's like it's passed down like orally from family to family and so on. And there's some very special people and very caring people. The whole thing with the ayahuasca, if it's done properly, this is a therapeutic, this is a healing ceremony. This is for physical, spiritual, psychological healing and to change your life. It's not like, wow, look at the fucking pink elephant in the room. Right? That's fun, man, but it's not, and you know there's more out there, but this is literally life changing. So,
well, I think a lot of people who don't understand ayahuasca or even DMT or like they should come. Yeah, well, I think a lot of people think that it is like, oh, this is a bunch of people just want to get high or something, or but I have not met anybody that's really seeking this who understands it. That's really what they're really after, the same thing I'm after, which is
it's not necessarily, it might not be even a pleasant experience for you.
Yeah, some people
tough time, man. They're crying, they're getting all this trauma, it's all coming out. So in that point, you might think, wow, this guy's really suffering, he's having a bad time, man. But afterwards, when he's pulled all that shit out, then the guy's smiling, is happy, he's got rid of this. We're all carrying stuff in our subconscious, and even our muscles in our body from memories. And you just feel like afterwards it's fantastic, like a computer that's been cleaned. And now your brain and your insights and everything is just working really, really fast, like a clean computer.
So do you think, I've wondered about this, it sounds like, just especially from your description, that it's like you say, like a cleansing, like you're, because I know that all disease, that we're finding out now more and more that all disease in this world is oftentimes trapped energy in our bodies, and we trap it emotionally. It resides in parts of our body. It can manifest as cancers, or you name it, the disorder, it can come about. And most of the stuff that we suffer from these days are from these long-term lifestyle related energy, sort of trapped energy sort of issues.
Experiences, it's trauma, and it's our own thoughts about trauma. So, if you have a trauma,
and this thing, so you
just be playing it all the time. So your body's just in a state of stress, like low-level stress all the time.
And I guess if you don't realize this is going on, which most of us don't, we don't realize we're replaying this little roadmap in our head.
The subconscious is like a box with a lot of stuff in that's like directing a lot of our actions, but we can't see inside the box, so we don't even know it's there.
Yeah, I know.
This is going to like blow the lid off the box.
So when you go through all this, like you said, like I guess my question is, it feels like a cleansing. Is that what you said? Like there's a cleansing.
Also, you do physically purge. You do normally vomit a lot. Some people like get diarrhea and shit themselves and everything. So it's cleaning out physically as well. But I think the purging is usually, for me, I usually feel like it's coming out physically, like something's coming out. But I feel like it's more like energy or psychological. Like there's something I need to do. I just get it out.
And then when do you get to a clear space eventually in your process?
Yeah, I mean, eventually, you kind of line down and they close the ceremony, and then everyone just hangs out for a while. I mean,
so now
you have a good conversations about your experience, or you want to share, you don't want to share. That's up to you.
Now, when
meeting and everyone will sit in a circle and. In my camp, I always lead because I feel like I'm the leader, so I'm always the one to go first and say about my experience, that this is what I feel and this is what I, so that everybody else then feels comfortable to do it. And some people share a lot, some people don't share too much. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, like, it's up to you. But it's just like, I think once you see one person kind of letting their emotions go free,
it's easier to.
It's easier, then you get the whole group of 20 people in there. By the end of the week, everyone's like best friends because you feel like person. You're not just seeing the mask like that we normally present.
Yeah, that's
okay, because everything's not okay all the time, and you're just letting it out here, and it's a safe space, and you're with people.
In one sense of it, that's very much like family, right? Like to our families, we let down
now. We call it the DY ayahuasca family. We got the
whole.
Oh,
cool. That's see, I'm all about that. I really love the idea of.
You should come out and do it, man.
I'm good. I really am. I'm not just saying that. I really am. It's something that I've been planning on. I just wanted to pick the right setting, the right.
Well, listen, people. I'm telling you, man, you will not get a better setting than this, and a better experience, and a better team of people. You can go down to Peru as well, but down in Peru, I mean, you're going to be in some rustic fucking place with some giant mosquitoes biting your ass and everything. I mean, this place,
I want that. I'm still a very civilized individual.
This place is nice and it's comfortable, and the food is amazing, and the care. I mean, people that work there, they're just they're just there to serve people, man. They're just there to help people. They don't have a lot of money or anything like that. They're just great people. That's their mission in life is to help people, and they found that this working with the plant was their way that they wanted to do it, and it's very effective. I mean, you could go to fucking 20 years therapy, man, and not get what you get in one night.
I heard people say that. Like, they said that, like, this was like 20, 30 years of therapy rolled up.
Come to Costa Rica and we'll get it sorted out in a week. You don't even need to go back again.
That's what I heard that from so many people. Like, oh, yeah, man, like, years of therapy. Don't need all that shit.
That's the real benefit. I mean, you might see some crazy visual things, and you might, see other worlds and aliens or whatever. I mean, everyone's different. The one guy, he changed into a monkey. He felt like he was right back before we evolved, and they fucking knew everything about monkeys when he came back. I mean, it was amazing. Yeah.
So, did you how many of these journeys?
You do 4 ceremonies in 1 week.
Okay, how many have you done?
Well, I did that one that was 4. I've done a couple of camps in Europe that were 3 nights, and then I've done a couple of like single nights over the years. So
for you, why I always thought, okay, when you do it once, then maybe you don't really need to. Why the 3 consecutive? What's the logic?
I think a lot of the ceremonies I go to, if there's multiple ones, is the first one is normally not really super intense, because the shamans they're like checking the group out. They're
still feeling you out. Yeah.
They're looking at individual. They know what they're doing, man. I don't know everything, so I wouldn't claim to know everything they're doing. But that's pretty much what I got. And then the second night will get more intense, and the third night probably more intense.
So there's successive breakthroughs, basically.
Yeah, and then like the 4th night is they're like putting an end to the process, and they're helping to like seal you off. Like, that's the idea. They even advise you to wear a hat for a couple of days afterwards, because you're like kind of protecting your crown, chakra, and so on. So you're like protecting all that change of that energy, and they're just like trying to seal it off and let it sit there for a couple of days before you go flying back to your crazy life. How
does that feel? I'm curious. Like, when you go from a very spiritual experience, 'cause I'm all about the spiritual. I mean, I went to seminary. Yeah. I studied philosophy. I've always been very interested in the spiritual, because I feel like that speaks to who we really are. So how is that going back to normal life?
Just having an experience here with this meat jacket thing that we get stuck in.
Yeah. So is it hard? Is it hard to go back from having this intense sort of 5-day or whatever it is, a 5 or 6 day excursion to normal life?
It is, and
because I would just be wanting to talk about that.
It's hard if you tell people what you just went to do, because they will drive you crazy, asking questions about what happened and how it is and this and that.
You're like, you got to go do it.
These are questions that you feel that you can't adequately answer anyway. So I end up just saying, listen, if you really want to know, just fucking do it, man.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. It's like, and my experiences and my things, some of it you need to keep for yourself. You don't need to share it with everybody.
Yeah, I think each person should have their own unique experience with it. I think it's intended for that. It's kind of funny. I picked up on something you said earlier. I never heard it quite described this way, except for by one other person, and it was on Joe Rogan's podcast when they were talking about cannabis, and we were talking about the ayahuasca and the herb and the plant. And there's 2 things they combine to make it orally active and all these things. And we have this. This is one of the things I think that we as a society don't acknowledge very well, is that we don't acknowledge that we've had this relationship with certain plants like cannabis and like some other mushrooms, as well as things like ayahuasca. We have this intimate spiritual relationship with our planet.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They found mummies like 10,000, 20,000-year-old mummies with cannabis and stuff like that in the you know.
They're taking it back with them to the afterlife.
They're taking it to the other side, man.
This is too good to keep here.
I mean, ayahuasca in South America, who knows, man? They got no written history there. So who knows how long this has just been passed down from father to son or something like this. There's no written history of this use of this plant and why they used it in the first place. Many reasons. One of the other things as well, it pulls all like parasites out of your body. It kills parasites and everything as well.
That would seem to be really useful in the jungles. I find that to be fascinating. What was that?
It has a lot of uses, and I got books. I like to read a lot, and evidence of drugs being used in the ceremonies in Egypt, in ancient Tibet, in early Buddhism and Hinduism. I mean, it goes back thousands of years, and that's just like what we can prove. And it's a written history or a mummy that they found with the stuff there, and literature where they might describe it as something else. The Indian literature, they're talking about a drink called soma, and then people are debating what this is. Is it cannabis? Is it this? Is it that? So, I mean, thousands and thousands of years people have been using this, and then fucking 90 years ago,
exactly,
whoever they are and powers that are behind it decided to demonize it all, make it illegal, and then brainwash people into believing that this was a really bad thing.
I had this sneaky suspicion now I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do believe that there are subversive ideas in our culture that sort of support certain ideologies, like particularly certain people in power, not people, but institutions and things like that. And when you have, and it happens over time, right? Like so,
or even just financial forces.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to, pharmaceutical industry is going to like miss out huge time.
Oh,
it's used really properly.
Even here in the United States, you look at like Florida, for instance, who we have several states now that are cannabis where it's legal, it's recreationally legal, and Florida's not one of them. And they happen to have a very strong pharmaceutical lobby there for opiates. Because most of the prescriptions are like all these prescriptions are being filled in Florida, and they want to protect it. So they really lobby against the legalization of cannabis or making it so difficult for people who even have a prescription just to get the medication.
They've seen what's happened in the states where it is legalized. Yeah. They've seen the figures, man. The use of opiates, prescription opiates, has gone down
way down.
30% or something. That's huge money, man. They don't lose.
Well, they don't want to lose that, and especially when you think of from all the big pharmaceutical companies, they make so much of their money off of these painkillers. And if pain management went somewhere else, went another direction, like heaven forbid we can manage our own pain, then fuck shit. That and all.
Industries out there that were involved in this, even like the logging industry, because of the hemp plant can be used instead of cutting down the trees. I told the story somewhere else, maybe, but Henry Ford, he built the first Model T Ford out of hemp.
Oh, he did? Oh.
He built the whole car out of hemp, man. Check it out. Hempcrete is stronger than steel, is lighter than steel, it's not environmentally damaging. He ran it on hemp ethanol. He built the whole car.
So the whole car is a weed car.
Wouldn't get you high if you set it on fire because it's just hemp.
There was
that stopped, the forces, the banking people or the petrochemical industry, which is in the end so much the same groups of people.
Well, I think it was originally, now if I remember correctly, I think I heard Joe Rogan talk about this on this podcast about how even the word hemp, cannabis and hemp, it comes from the word usefulness, because the plant is so useful that it was originally named that. We made textiles out of it. You name it, you could do all this stuff like you said with it. And then somewhere down the line it became taboo. Somewhere down the line, and they think it's possibly influenced by the cotton industry, because we were so strong in the cotton industry. We were farming and agriculturally, and of course, but whatever the case is, now that my way of thinking says, now that we know right? Like we should promote a more complete sort of idea about how we live in our society, our planet, and how we get along with it, and how we become more evolved individuals, especially when you look at the nature of all this stuff.
It's happening. It's happening because of people like us talking about it, and Joe Rogan and everybody. The information is getting out there, and everybody got like a program of information in their brain. Most people are still running on the old program, the old information.
Yeah.
You know, I posted a video of my like smoking a joint on Instagram. Most people get it, but you still get the people like, how can a healthy athlete smoking this and bad example to our kids and blah blah blah.
I'm gonna go grab a beer and I'll do that too.
It's fucking not unhealthy. It's very good for you in many ways, right? Check it out.
Well, I think you're right. We have people. Well, one, you can't take one thing and extrapolate that over an entire person's health or body or life or whatever. But I totally get it. I think there's just people who are always going to have their own set ideas about.
Yeah, I mean, one guy's on prescription drugs and is drinking a beer, you know.
Exactly.
And,
nothing wrong with that, right?
Bad example for my son. Oh, okay, but I'm going to take you a poster off the wall. Okay, the poster on the wall where I was taking steroids and growth hormone, that's okay.
That's okay.
That's not going to join.
This is infinitely healthier for me, man.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a super antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. Most of our diseases are coming from inflammation, one sort or another. So if you keep your inflammation at bay, it's great for your health, man. So I just say it's a fucking health supplement, and I like taking it. It gets me high as well. I feel good.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean,
all these guys that sit around smoking all day and do not. Yeah, you can do that, man. You can drink alcohol all day and get drunk and do nothing, right? Or you could have a glass of wine or two with your dinner at night and be a very functional member of society. So anything you can abuse. So, you know, if people want to be stupid, they'll be stupid. That's it.
Well, absolutely. There's how have brings me to another interesting question. How has your health practices today changed from when you were a bodybuilder? Because I think a lot of people, they said, "Oh, you're going to interview Dorian, like ask him about nutrition, ask him about what he does today." So I'm just curious, like how it's changed from your bodybuilding days till today.
Now it is a health practice. Before it wasn't a health practice.
Right. It was just all about
bodybuilding practice. Yeah, it's like absolutely building the biggest, most ripped physique and setting new standards and being Mr. Olympia and winning the contest, and that was my goal, and that everything was towards that goal. I don't have that goal now. I'm older, I've matured, I have different points of view and different information. Now everything I do is geared to my health and my wellness of my body and my mind and my spirit. So that's my goal.
Give me can you paint me a picture of what that practice looks like for you generally every day now?
As far as exercise,
can you turn your light on just so I can see a little bit better? Is that possible?
Give me a minute now. Let me.
Yeah.
What's happened since we're talking? The sun's set. So.
Yeah. You guys are several hours ahead, so. There we go.
All right, now you can see.
I don't want you sitting in the dark, man.
I'm the shadows in the light now.
There you go.
All right. So as far as exercise, because I've got a very badly damaged left shoulder. The AC joint was damaged. We kind of repaired that. The supraspinatus was torn. I had a couple of surgeries to repair that, and it came off again. And now I just operate without a supraspinatus, which makes that shoulder joint weak.
So you don't do any pressing or anything like that?
I mean, it just really can't. What happens if I try to do it is that the other shoulder then takes the load, and I start getting problems with the other shoulder. So I'm kind of asking myself why I'm doing this. Really, why are you doing this? You're doing it because you're trying to maintain some kind of an image that you think people need to see because you're Mr. Olympia. So again, there's that and the ego and everything. So I said, let me do what I want to do and what's good for me and not what I think that the people and then other people's opinions or whatever shouldn't really be influencing me the way I'm living my life. That's a pretty tough thing to do, though, if you really be honest with yourself.
It's been that way for me, tough for me, because I spent so much of my life trying to always create this physique, and I got to 270. I'm only 5'7", and I got to like 270, and then when I retired from competing a couple years ago, about 3 years ago, I went through a little bit of depression, and I had to readjust my goals. I had to redefine myself, not as an athlete anymore, but as just a coach or just a normal person. And so when I go in the gym today, I can viscerally feel a difference between the kind of passion. I mean, I'd go in the gym before and I would just kill shit, right? Like, and you know the feeling, like you go in there and you're like, it's time to go to work. This is time to do it. And now I go in there and I want to feel good. I want to use my body. I want to make sure that it's healthy. I have a very different perspective, but the energy is different when I go to the gym today.
Well, you know, it comes with age as well. When you're 25, 30 years old, you feel like really indestructible.
I
could just walk through the wall if I wanted to, and maybe I could. I don't know.
You might feel it more now, but I don't know.
You know, I had zero fear in the gym.
I know that feeling. That's a great feeling. It was you talk about.
It's totally different now. First of all, I don't do really much direct, weight training, bodybuilding, if you like. I do yoga twice a week. I do with the class once a week. I do with a private teacher.
I've seen some of your posts about yoga. I was wanting to ask you about it when you're done.
Amazing. I mean, it's amazing for you physically and the flexibility and the mobility it gives you. But it's the feeling as well. I think it's like, because you're stretching out all these muscles and in every type of angle, you're releasing all the shit that gets caught, especially in your psoas muscles. A lot of stress and bad memories are sitting in your psoas muscles.
Yeah.
And wait till you start to stretch them out properly and do yoga, man. I mean, I was in tears a couple of times. I don't even know why. At the end of the class, I started crying.
You were just releasing this energy.
I was just emotional and didn't really know why, so I just let it come out.
I've been. It's funny because my life has been gravitating in the same directions as yours. Seems like yours has, because I've been interested in the same kinds of things. Especially things like yoga, because of some of these things as well. I'd always seemed like, what a waste of time, when I was younger. I was
like, fuck this shit that women did.
I'm like, you don't even do anything. I'm like, you just stretch it or whatever. And I heard there was a guy.
Hard, man. You think you're not doing anything, but those positions and those stretches and they're pretty hard, but it's in a different way. It's like you gotta. When I first started, I still had that bodybuilding mentality where I'm gonna really try really hard and tense, and it just makes it worse, man. Or if you're trying to balance on one foot and you start you just fall over. So it took me some time to learn to breathe and to relax and to balance and move into the poses. And it's something you never, you can keep learning that. So
it's funny you say that, because about breathing, I'm working on getting Wim Hof. You know who Wim Hof is, right?
I do, man. I've been doing his breathing in the last few weeks.
Yeah, actually. So I've been working to get him on my show, and because I saw him on another Impact Theory, and I think Joe Rogan had him on his show too. And I'm like, wow, man, this really fascinating, and the stuff that he's talking about. Of course, he's a little. With his accent, I think he's from Norway or something.
So it's
it's
funny.
When you listen to him, I know some of the science, so I know what his stuff is real. But when you hear him, sometimes it kind of, because he doesn't use all the same words that it kind of almost sounds a little hokey, but it's not.
Great thing about Wim Hof is this is not theoretical. This is not hokey pokey. This is, he's been in the lab, man, and
they test him. They attach electrodes and everything. And what did he do? Have you met with him?
They injected him with some poison or a virus.
Yeah, they're like some kind of toxin, some kind of viral toxin.
It's just at will.
Yeah, this blew me away, man. I was like, whoa. And he talks about this breathing method, I guess. I haven't heard exactly what you do, but maybe you could describe and what your experience has been with it.
I've been doing it the last month. It's basically intense breathing in and out. We're kind of hyperventilating, but I think the idea is
super oxygenate your body.
You're oxygenating, you're alkalining your body, and you're accessing your brain where you kind of release adrenaline.
Okay.
That you're used to releasing adrenaline now. Somehow you keep doing this, you get control over situations in your life where you might be releasing it, and you're getting all out of control and getting anxiety and panicking. But now you're not, because somehow your body's getting used to it. Probably a very bad description, but that's kind of how I understood it. And the cold as well, shower.
He advocates the cold showers.
I'd like to go and visit him one time maybe and do the whole thing.
He has I think he has an experience kind of thing.
He does camps around the place and in Holland and so on. So I hope he's also been a guest on London Real.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't hear his.
Yeah, we have a mutual contact there. So I would like to, it's health and wellness for me now, but I'm still interested, as I was in bodybuilding. How far can we push this? What's the limit? What's fascinates me is the potential of human beings, what we can do. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of what our potential is with our minds if we really use them.
I think you're absolutely right. Actually, that's where I was going, was everything that I've been studying the last several years with between epigenetics and brain plasticity and all this mind-body connection. We are in so much more control than what I think we ever thought we were. And it's just a matter of how do we harness it. I think many of us, like you said, it's this old paradigm thinking of how not just in some of the plants and the cultures that the things that we use in our culture, but also how we use our own, these instruments that we call our bodies.
Yeah,
and there's several people out there like Dr. Joe Dispenza. There's who really talk about and really in a scientific way and demystify a lot of this stuff, because the old language of describing like these journeys, the DMT journeys, the old language is mystic. The new language is science.
You can go back to the Bible. You can go back to the Bhagavad Gita from the Hindus. You go back, and once you understand it as it's being explained now, you can go back and you can say, hey, that's look what they're saying there, in a different way that we didn't really understand. And now that we've got computer technology as well, I think it really helps us to understand a lot of things, because it's we've got similarities.
I think the most exciting thing about this age that we are living now, and I tell people this all the time, that this is the best time to live in, because you and I and anybody really can, if we come across a really wonderful idea or some truth, we can get it out. It used to be that it was a bottleneck of information. Only a limited number of people could disseminate this information to large amounts of people.
Information from, man?
What was that?
Where did you get your information from? From your friends and family?
Right.
From your school? Right?
Right.
And from TV.
Right.
Which is a few channels.
Or maybe some magazines, but
have their agenda that they
exactly.
And they want to give us information that they want to give us, and now we're finding our own information, we're sharing it. It's accelerating the evolution of the human race, and
that's why it's so
information, you can't change your perspective. You need new information to change your perspective, and that's what we're getting, and we're sharing it out there now, and it's also redefining what is spirituality, or what's a spiritual person. We used to be a guy with long hair and a beard, and you got like now is people from sports, and we're getting it, man.
I think that's this awakening period of sorts is exciting to me. It's like I guess I've never really liked the old idea of being fixed into a religious perspective. One religious perspective. I really believe in a very sort of
too narrow. Like you can't put it in a.
I think it may work.
Just too narrow, man. It's just one very narrow perspective that's also been manipulated.
Right.
For financial gain and politics and control, all these things.
Yeah, there's an agenda at hand oftentimes, especially when you have organizations, right? So like religion to me is the spiritual application of in the form of an institution. So it becomes less spiritual and more organizational.
Religion actually is damaging spirituality. I believe it's almost like an opposite.
Well, especially when, like you said, it's like you and I, or like somebody trying to force somebody to have the exact same experience that you had in the ayahuasca journey. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Like I think everybody we all have our own unique interaction with the spiritual, and it could be something like you might experience in a traditional religious setting, but most likely these days it probably isn't. It may or may not.
You can find wisdom in all somewhere.
Absolutely, I think it like.
But it's putting you in a box of thinking.
I also believe that
this because it's not in my dogma. You got to be free to think what you want and discover, and it's way too narrow. But some people. They need that. It makes them feel comfortable, this very black and white kind of rules and so on. Some people need that.
Well, I think...
need rules. Children need rules.
Exactly. I was just going to say, to me, it feels very sophomoric or very... and I hate to say it like this, but the truth is it feels very immature as you progress through
It's good advice. For instance, a religion might say, you shouldn't drink alcohol because alcohol is very damaging spiritually. Yes, I agree. If you drink lots of it, it can be. But if you had a glass of wine or with your dinner, as I say, that'd probably be fine. Might even be great for your health. So, but, you know, I'm mature enough and intelligent enough to make that decision, right? So that's what these absolute rules that they're, you know, would it be beneficial for your life if you don't drink alcohol? Possibly, yeah, because it could fuck you up if you get drunk and you get alcoholic. So maybe it's good advice, but if you're able to like discern yourself, control yourself, like it doesn't need to be so black and white. Yes, you can have a glass of wine and like it's not going to damage your spiritual journey.
I think it's very much like bodybuilding, right? Like if somebody said, hey, how do I build arms or a body like you build? And you can say, this is what I did. It may or may not. It'll probably get you part of the way there, but you may have to adapt your routine, your diet, everything to make your body look the best that your body can look. And like, I think just in the same way, we all have a unique spiritual experience in this life, whether people want to realize it or not. Like I've always said, look, we're really spiritual creatures living a physical experience. That's really what we're doing. And when you acknowledge that, then you have to acknowledge that each person has to have this unique relationship with themselves. And really this whole experience of life is really about knowing yourself better and better and better and expressing the most fullest version of who you really are. And that's how greatness happens. That's the way I define it, at least.
Absolutely, man. I mean, and a lot of these things, alcohol and different drugs, it can take you away from yourself because you're just numbing yourself. Whereas psychedelics is taking you inside yourself, which is where really everything is. It really has nothing outside yourself, actually.
Yeah, that strips away from this is one of the most exciting pieces of the psychedelic journey that I am most attracted to is the stripping away of the ego, time and space and ego, the stuff that holds us to this experience. I think what I sense from people is that it gives you this unique perspective that you just can't get in the body. You just can't get it here looking through these things.
You know that everything's connected. We're all connected, and everything's connected, and ultimately it's all one thing. That's
giant swirling energy. I think that's all exciting stuff.
It's just energy condensed to a certain vibration.
That's what even Einstein was quoted as once saying, if you want to understand the universe, you have to understand that everything is vibration. Everything. Yeah, and when you really start thinking about this, I tell people this and they go, yeah. And I think, well, if you really understand this, then what you see is just a representation and it's your representation. Somebody else may be looking at something and have a completely different perspective, a completely different look. And so seems to me, everyone's always trying to get consensus with their perspective. You have to understand life this way. You have to do it this way. You have to see it this way. No, this is wrong. This is right. And
if we had a painting on the wall and I was standing directly looking at the painting and you were standing somewhat to the right looking at the painting, we're looking at the same painting, right? Well, the picture in your mind will be different from the picture in my mind because you're looking from a different perspective and different angle. So.
Yeah, there's all these really interesting visual tests that I've taken that highlight how our brain processes information, and it's based on how we use it. So, like brain plasticity, if you know anything about brain plasticity, how your brain changes based on how we use it, and this to me is like evolution in action, right? Like we're consciously evolving through this life, and now so much faster because we're starting to realize, at least some of us are like Wim Hof and some of these other people, that we have more control over these mechanisms. And to me, this idea of, like you were talking about earlier, of the advancement of the human potential is so much farther than we thought. I think that's pretty exciting, especially if I knew what I know now. I would have probably implemented some of these things into my early bodybuilding career. Like, you know,
me too. I mean, I was pretty good with the psychological part of it. It was always goal setting and mentally rehearsing and, kind of hypnotizing myself. I did all that. You
go into a trance. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to somebody about this. Like, that's really when you watch somebody who's getting ready to do a heavy lift or who's psyching themselves up for their workout, who's really intense, really gets this. What they're really doing is they're putting themselves in a trance. They're putting themselves in this sort of almost hypnotic sort of trance so that you can get rid of all the distractions. Because if I was to think back, and I had some great experiences in the gym in my lifetime. Wonderful. I always looked forward to working out, still do. But I remember early on going in, and if I really scour my memory, it's like my memory, everything on the peripheral gets hazy. It was really the workout. I just remember the workout, right?
It's the bubble, man. You're creating a bubble. I used to do before I went to the gym, I used to sit down at home in my office and look at my last workout. I had it written down. So the last workout was this, and I'm imagining today's workout. I'm already visualizing it. I see the clothes I'm wearing. I can feel the iron. I know how much weight's going on the bar. I know how much I did last week, so I'm going to do one more today.
Oh, wow.
All this, like, and I just walk in the gym, man, like nobody could even catch my eye, man. I just like my zone, or I look at the floor anyway because I don't want to look in anyone's eye because I don't want to catch my eye and say hi. I just was in my own world, man. I mean, if you go watch Blood and Guts, you can see there it's like not really making a lot of noise because it's all inside. Like,
absolutely.
Like steel determination. I was totally in a trance. I don't know. I can't even see the fucking camera guy. I don't know he's there.
I think my whole, from the age of maybe 19, 20 till about I was 33 or so, 35 almost, it feels like a blur. It feels like, because I was so focused on doing this stuff. And I was...
You're in a tunnel, man. You're in a tunnel.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not... I wasn't Mr. Olympia.
A little bit sad because we were talking about my training and I said I did yoga a couple of times a week. That's not all I do, so just let me fill in.
Oh, yeah. So go ahead.
I do some cardio. I do cycling outside. We've got great mountains in Spain.
I see you do some of the hiking and some of this. That looks... Man, some of those places are beautiful.
I do some interval cardios. I do different stuff, man, and kind of functional training. I work usually once a week with a guy that's helping me to keep my shoulders in the right place and to get more mobility and all the things that kind of like we lack as bodybuilders because of the training is just like, you know, we don't do anything where we're like turning or twisting.
No, there's less stabilizing stuff.
On plane. So I do that. So everything is really to be healthy and to be functional. And I can go up mountains quick, fast now, man. I couldn't do it when I was 270, 280, 300 pounds. That's like, I don't need that now. So why would I do it? Why would I try to maintain that physique if it's not benefiting me?
Right.
Other than to say, hey, I'm still that guy. Well, I'm still that guy. I still get it all in there. If you want to know how to train and build muscles, I mean, nobody fucking knows better than me. I got it there. I got the information I can show you. So I'm retaining that, but the body is different. I'm like 225 now. Still stay pretty lean and healthy. All my, health matters and everything real good. So
that was one of the things I found surprising about myself, and maybe you could tell me if it surprised you. For so long, I had such an intense drive to always gain weight, always maintain this musculature, and it was a lot of work. I am not a big eater, so it was, though the eating part sucked because I was always like, okay, fucking time to eat, and so it was just forcing food down. And so when I stopped all that, oh my gosh, I felt like a load was released off me. I didn't have to eat as much, and it was so much. What I found surprising was it was so much easier for me to maintain so much more muscle than I thought I would just shrivel away to nothing. I thought, man, I'm gonna be 135 fucking pounds. But no, I'm about 210 pounds. That's about where it's really easy for me to maintain that. I don't even have to eat a lot of food. So was that? Did you find that to be same?
I eat like maybe twice a day now. That's it.
Yeah. That to me, I know the hardcore bodybuilding enthusiasts who are younger, who really are into lifestyle, I totally get it because I was there, you were there. And if you were to ask me in my 20s, I would have told you how excited I was to do it all because I was excited in it. But it was such a burden. And when I released myself of it today, I really feel like I'm enjoying my life more.
You're freer, right? You're freer.
Yeah. I would never have described it that way before. But
even sleeping. I mean, I used to sleep 2 hours in the afternoon, 8 hours at night, 10 hours a day. I wouldn't break that. I mean, like a baby, 6 meals a day. It's a lot of planning, a lot of work. And
I don't know if...
It did take me a long time to get out of the habit, though.
Oh, did?
A long time, yeah. Well, even my wife, Gal, now, she came from Brazil in 2008, so I'd already been retired 10 years. And she's like, why are you eating like you're on a bodybuilding diet?
You're like, I've been doing it for...
That's what I know, right? The chicken and rice and oatmeal and eggs. And I just kept doing it, just in a little bit smaller amounts. And now it's... I don't eat a lot of protein now. I eat mainly like kind of plant-based, I suppose.
So maybe... I don't know if you have felt this way, but man, the last couple of years, I'm thinking, gosh, even though I'm not a vegetarian, vegan convert, I really feel this pull towards animal product, to using less meat products, animal products, not for any other reason, but because I just feel it energetically that it's better for me.
Yeah, well, that's what I think. First of all, it's proven really, like
right.
studies better for your health long term. But also there's the aspect of the way that animals are treated in this industrialized farming and slaughter. I mean, they don't have a life really. They're just treated as a product. So they're suffering.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the animals are suffering because of us, and we think it's okay for us to treat them like that, and I'm not one of these foo-foo vegan people that you shouldn't kill anything. I mean, I think if it's sustainable and the animal's wild and it's living its life and it gets shot in the head and boom, and like that's it, and then you use it and you use the meat like the way that we used to do, I think this is okay. Like, but the way it is now, that the way the animals are treated, the animals are suffering, right? Nobody can deny that.
No, you see these farms.
All connected.
Yeah.
If we're all connected,
I think
then if they're suffering, surely it's reflecting on us as well. So
I think we need. I think you're right. We need to address, in our culture at least, how we manage this balance and how we manage the respect for all of life, because I think that's what you're talking about.
Absolute. I'll have still some fish,
right,
or some organic free-range eggs now and then, maybe once or twice a week. Occasionally I'll have a chicken breast still. I try to get organic if I can. So red meat I haven't eaten for like more than 3 years. Actually, I went back. I'm like, I can't be dogmatic about this. Let me go try a steak. So I went, had a Argentinian grass-fed organic steak, and I just felt like really kind of heavy the next day, and I didn't enjoy the feeling, and that was it for me. I was like, okay, that's done. I'm done with that now. I used to eat steak like that was my thing in the States when I traveled around the US. Every city I went to, I used to find the best steakhouse and go there and have a steak. So that's not happening anymore. Now I'm going to the organic, like, vegan shop or something.
I think I used to love red meat quite a bit. I still like it from time to time, but I find myself not liking it as much for the same reason. I feel heavier. Like I just don't feel like I like that clean feeling. That
I like to break it down and process it. And extract things from it.
And I wondered why I felt this more prominently as I got older than when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I don't think I would have described it that way.
Maybe it's to do with the consciousness. You know, like we're just not aware. So.
Yeah, and I think that you're probably right, because I think there's a lot of things about us in our experience that once you become aware, and I talk about to this with my athletes, my clients, about becoming aware of your feelings, becoming aware, just being aware of it, so that way you can be conscious and make better choices if you want to, if that's what you want to do. And I think just being aware, like I'm not going to say that red meat's horrible for you. My girlfriend is a red meat fiend. She just loves it. I tend to gravitate towards vegetables and fish. I happen to just really like that. It feels better on me, but I do think that there's something to be said there. So when it comes, so your diet today, do you even keep track of your macros now, or keep track of, or just no? Because I don't either.
I did that for years. I used to go to a restaurant, and not on purpose. It was just like a fucking habit. I would sit down in a restaurant,
start calculating.
2 chicken breasts there.
Yep. That's
about 700 or 800 calories there, about 50 grams of protein. Fuck up, man.
That's exactly.
For so long, it's like automatic.
That's exactly what I do, man. I'm sitting there going, how many ounces is that?
I don't worry about it now, man. I have a couple of meals a day, or in a juice or a smoothie or something, and I'm good. I feel great. I feel good energy. I don't get this because I was eating so much and so often. Like, you know, if you eat every 3 hours and then you go like 4 hours and you're not eating anything, you start shaking.
Your blood sugar gets low. Your body's anticipating them.
I could go all day without eating and function and be fine, and like wouldn't even bother me.
That's one of the most dramatic things I think I like, that I was surprised that where I'm at now nutritionally, I can eyeball things pretty good in terms of like what I know I'm getting. But I was surprised that like, wow, I feel better. I have more energy and I feel better than when I'm always feeding. When I was always feeding.
It's using a lot of energy just to break that down.
Just to break it, exactly. And you know, I actually advocate a lot of what is called like intermittent fasting, or having a fasting type lifestyle. I think our digestive systems and our bodies have evolved to really accommodate fasting pretty well. So I like to do like a 12 or 14 hour fast each day. So I won't even usually eat until after like noon because that's part of my regimen.
Yeah, doing that now. It's very interesting, the whole thing with the fasting, and apparently 3-day fast, you can just like push your whole immune system.
Yeah, there's an immune bolstering effect to fasting. There's all kinds of, and your body purges toxins just naturally after about 10 or 12 hours. Your body starts to, and then it goes into this energy release mode. So it's very. This is what I found to be really interesting, because the more research, and I'm a nutritionist by trade, so I've done all this research my whole life. I've worked with all these people my whole life, including myself, and I was always under the impression for so many years that I had to constantly feed this body, constantly feed it so that I could perform in the gym. Even if it doesn't matter when I went in. So I always wanted to go in, like a lot of bodybuilders, later in the day, because I could get a couple meals in and then go train. But today I don't do that. Today I might get one meal in, but I usually don't like to. I want to go in, get some water in my system. I don't even take any pre-workouts. I don't want to be overstimulated. I might take a little bit of kratom. Just a little bit, and then I'll go in and train, and then come back and then start my eating day. But I feel better.
It's interesting, man. Somebody introduced me to that.
Kratom? Awesome.
But I actually use it at night.
I do too. There's different strains. So there's the red strain, the red vein strain, which is more sedative, relaxing. That's the kind that I will drink at night, and that's the predominant one I drink. But my kratom guy, who has this company, supplies kratom, and he said, "Hey, you should try this." Who was it? It was Mark Bell. You know Mark Bell?
Yeah, I haven't seen that documentary, but I heard he made a documentary about kratom as well. So
he got really enthusiastic about it. My buddy was giving it to him, I guess, and he really loved it. And they started using that as their pre-workout. There's a more stimulating version. It's like
the green one.
Yeah, the green, right? And so he started using that, and so he suggested it to me. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll try it. And it doesn't really, I don't like that hair standing on end sort of pre-workout feel like I used to. But I like to be awake, and I like to feel a good work. So it seems to accomplish that really nicely, and I don't feel my age on my like it has this. So I guess
painkiller.
Yeah, so I guess it excites the same opiate receptors that the opiates do without giving you the addictive qualities. And my girlfriend is half Thai, so they actually grow this in Thailand. It's one of their herbs in Thailand. And her and I talked about it. She was born in Bangkok and then grew up here in the States in Chicago. She's a doctor. And I asked her about it. I said, well, what do they use it over there for? She said, well, it used to be illegal, but now it's not. And they give it to the field workers. I said, why? She said, well, because what they do is they chew on it and they spit it out. They just all day long, or they drink it in a tea, but usually they're chewing on it. So I said, why do they do that? She said, well, it's really hard labor. They're out there working in fields, cutting fruit and doing whatever else they do. And she said it's a lot of work, so their muscles get sore, their joints get sore, everything. And so they can work 12, 14 hours and feel good. so
it's the same thing in Jamaica with the workers.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
They all smoke ganja, which is, the Jamaican word for weed. So
okay, there's my next job.
Go work in the fields in Jamaica.
Yeah. I think
you get paid. Just give us some food and some weed.
Yeah. Pay me in food and weed.
Get some reggae on. Let me work.
I didn't even hear about kratom until later. The funny thing is, I thought that what's interesting about kratom is the same thing I think is interesting about cannabis, which is that there's a lot of the pharmaceutical companies, they just don't like it because it really does, like when it comes to things like methadone, like when people use methadone to get people off of drugs. Of course, methadone is horrible, right? Like it's more addictive than heroin, and it's horrible. Like anyone who's ever used it, who I've talked to, said this is not a drug you want to even use. You don't get the euphoric effects, but it takes away some of the cravings. But what it leaves you with is this intense addiction to the methadone.
Methadone now.
Yeah, so now you're a methadone addict instead of a heroin addict, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Heroin addict that's not even getting high.
So great for the pharmaceutical companies who are selling you this stuff, but not so great for the people who actually have to live with this. And but kratom seems to be a really wonderful bridge for getting people off. And I've even heard of psychedelic mushrooms being a possible way to help with addictive qualities, addiction, and stuff like that. I've heard that's helped.
They're actually doing properly funded studies now in UK on LSD and psilocybin from mushrooms and the effect that it has on the brain, and MRI. It's on the internet somewhere. There's an MRI of a brain that's like the area that's active is lit up in red, and it's like maybe 30% of the brain area. And with the LSD, then it's like 100%. So it's just activating more of the brain, so you can access more information, I guess.
So what are the laws surrounding psilocybin and DMT and all that stuff over there in the UK? And that, what are they like compared to the US?
Same as the US. It's not legal.
Okay. But they seem to be willing to give like researchers. Is that true?
The researchers are doing it, but I'm not sure who's funding it or who's going to benefit from it when they find out. They're studying MDMA, psilocybin, LSD. Actually, it's an interesting story. There was a Professor Nutt from England. He was working for the government, so they commissioned him to do a paper on drug use in England and so on. And he came with some results which they didn't like, so they fired him.
Oh, gosh.
He said statistically, people taking ecstasy on the weekend is a lot safer than people riding horses. So they fired him, and a lot of the scientists that are working for the government, they resigned because they're like, we're scientists. We can't work on agenda. You asked us to give you scientific results, we give you scientific results. You don't like them, you're gonna fire us. Like,
yeah, forget it. Like, this isn't what we signed up for.
I don't know who's funding them or who's working for now, but he's the guy that's doing.
Well, there's a lot of stuff. I've heard of some research here in the States with MDMA and PTSD, and and it's been very successful. As a matter of fact, I think one of the studies that I read, 5 milligrams, just 5 milligrams, literally cured PTSD.
MDMA, it was not first called ecstasy.
No. It was originally researched, if my knowledge serves me correct, it was originally researched and developed as a psychiatric drug for couples, for marriage.
For therapy.
Yeah, for therapy.
Because it opens you up, and it was called empathy.
Empathy. Okay, I like that better.
Yeah, it was called empathy because they used to give them 100 milligrams, I think, which is like one hit.
Right. Most of the stuff,
like 45 minutes before the session or something like that, and by the time you go into the session, it's like you're so open, like it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out, and you're gonna be able to relate to your wife. She's gonna be able to relate to you better because you're in that space of like everything being connected. So that's how they were originally using it.
Yeah, I've used MDMA in the past, and the way I've described it to people is this: that it makes me feel like the real me. Like I no longer have to I just feel freer to be the real me. I'm like, I love going to music festivals. So like I love doing the whole, like I love EDM stuff. I love, like, I'll go there and dance for hours. I just love doing that kind of stuff. And so that's where I first tried it. And and I didn't go there to hit on chicks or like, that's not my thing. But I went there and it was using it in combination with music, and it allowed me to, it really felt like I was able to really amplify my good vibration. I was able to really just exist.
Yeah, connect with people,
and in my own way, in my own unique and authentic way, to be as sincere of an individual as I could. I tell people, it's like, man, all I wanted to do is give people hugs and tell people I love them, man. That's pretty much what I wanted to do. I'm like, and I think if that's the worst thing that happens out of a drug experience, then I'd say it's not that bad.
Yeah, wait till you're in Vegas in a nightclub and some sweaty 320-pound football player wants to hug you and tell you he loves you.
It sounds like something from personal experience. As a matter of fact, when growing up, my mother did a really good job of putting the fear of illicit drugs or drugs that were considered illicit into my life. So I never tried anything, not even weed, nothing until, to this day, I've never even smoked a cigarette. Never tried anything until I was almost 40. And it was because my ex-wife she was getting her master's as a nurse practitioner, and she was doing some research on medicinal cannabis, like medicinal marijuana. And as she was presenting this material to me, because I was like, hey, what is this about? Because I always had a hard time gaining weight, always had a hard time eating. So I'm out there at a show sometime and working with some athletes, and I'm sitting there with Dennis James, who's DJ. And I'm like, man, he's showing me these pictures. He's like 306 pounds. He's like lean. He's huge. And I'm like, dude, how did you fucking eat so much food, man? He's like, bro, you got to smoke weed. And I was like, really?
Like, know that?
I was like, really, man? I was like, is that what it is? He's like, man, he goes, I just couldn't put this food down without it. And so I go back home, and she just happened to be doing this research at the same time. I said, hey, tell me about this stuff. And over the next couple of months, I started educating myself, and every single thing that I'd ever thought was wrong with it was completely inaccurate. Like, all the information I'd ever gotten was completely inaccurate.
It's just full of good news, man. I mean, there's a guy in the States, his name is Dr. Bob Malamud. Okay. I mean, you want to look into some of the stuff this guy, I mean, this is his researcher into free radicals and the damage, the aging on cells and so on. And he's like, way and above, the best thing you can be doing to protect your cells is sticking in cannabis.
Hey, I just became a convert. And then I found out that I actually fucking liked it. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool, man. I totally get it.
Is it good for you? It makes you feel good. I mean, what the fuck, man?
I think there's I really think...
Surely it must be illegal. Feeling healthy and feeling good, we can't have this.
I know. I think I think there must, I'm all joking aside, I think there must be a connection between feeling good and being healthy. I really believe this, that it's a vibration that we hold.
Couple of friends of mine that cured their own cancer using a cannabis concentrate, right?
I've heard of this. I don't know the science, but I've heard that people have done this.
Yeah, there's a very concentrated extract of the cannabis, so it's concentrated. You cannot smoke enough.
No, right? You take it in a pill, right?
You take it in oil, like drips or capsules, and it build up to a high amount, and it kills the cancer cells. And there's a lady in Spain that she's demonstrated this in the laboratory for like 20 years now. But anyway, I don't care if they demonstrate in the laboratory or not, really. Right. If it fucking works, it works, right? So there's a physical effect, but I'm wondering also how much of it is a psychological effect, because it's changing the way you think and making you more positive and making you more happy. This has surely got to have an effect on your cells in itself.
Well, from the way I understand the human body, how we experience, like, we have a vibration, and that vibration we experience as our feelings. Like, we know where our vibration is based on how we feel, right? That's how we sense it. So when you're happy, when you're feeling happy and healthy and vibrant, there's a very high different vibration than when you're not. And all of my experience tells me, and I've worked with lots of people over the years with cancer, just helping them with their diet, stuff like that, and seeing them through therapy, and it becomes really clear to me over like almost 30 years of working with people that the people who experience things like that kind of disease, especially cancer, they seem to exist before they get diagnosed for many years, usually over a decade, of either depression, anxiety, or some kind of emotional distress where their vibration is much lower. And it's my belief that we can't exist that way, that health means happiness, that we have to be we're joyful creatures by nature. And when we put ourselves in a position emotionally, and we do to ourselves by what we think about, then we really subject ourselves to some very unhealthy vibrations that cause some degenerative things like cancers and illnesses, and even injury, I think, can sometimes be contributing to something like this. When the body, when we're feeling good, right? When we feel good, we feel happy, when we feel joyful, when we feel loving, when we feel compassionate, it's the most natural feeling. It's why books and movies are written about love stories. It's because those feelings, I think, remind us of who we are, and who we are is ultimately good. And when we reflect that back out in life, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's this reaffirmation of the goodness, the well-being that is owed to us, but more importantly, that is who we are. And to me, that's just a great thing.
What you give out, normally you get back anyway.
Exactly. I think you hear this.
In that high vibration, then you'll get experiences and people like coming back on the same vibrational level, and vice versa if you're in a low vibration. I had a friend of mine, younger guy, and he's like, "Fuck, man, I just go in this bar and guy wants to fight me. Like, it's always happening all the time." I said, "Yeah, I know it is. I know why. You want to know why? Because your vibration is like on that level.
You're attracting that.
Bringing it in, man. You're going in a bar and there's a guy in there that's aggressive, and you'd like to get that out, and you'd like to have a fight, and you come in there and go, oh, that's the guy. Like, straight away you're on that vibration. So you got to change yourself if you want your experience to change.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of times people don't understand. I think a lot of people, when I talk to them, I said, oh yeah, my girlfriend and I actually had an argument about this once, or not an argument, but a discussion about this. I'm gonna have to call it time in a minute. Okay, sure. And I got another thing I got to do. So. Oh, no worries. I know it's late. But yeah, our vibration is I know we attract what we give off. So you're absolutely right.
It's like you've got to be like really conscious about what you're thinking and the way you're thinking and what you're giving out. And then that's why daily I do a meditation. I do a check on myself. I try to like catch myself what I'm thinking, because often we don't even know. Like what we're thinking, we're just like kind of reacting. But there is a process there before we react. And I think this is where meditation is amazing.
Well, this is part of
perception. I think meditation is amazing from many levels, but that's one of the things it does for me. It kind of slows down my thought process. So I can like stop that up in the past. No, you don't. I see you negative thoughts coming in, trying to focus up. No. Stopping.
I have the same. I meditate usually once, if not twice a day, usually once a day in the morning. I try to start my day off that way as well. I found meditation maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and man, it changed my life. I really, I advocate it to all my clients. I really love doing it. And when I feel stressed out, I do the exact same. I stop and I sit down and I close my eyes and I center myself. And I tell myself that consciously, especially during the day when I get frustrated or I get impatient. I'll say, okay, go back to center. Go back to center. And then it turns out that all the crap that I used to worry about is just, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter so much. And I even think about this. What was the worst thing that I worried about 10 years ago? I can't even remember.
Yeah.
It must not be that important.
You are nice, healthy and happy, and everything's good, man. You didn't need to worry, right?
Right, exactly. Like, I think all that stuff is self-induced. Are you going to be, before we close up here, are you going to be at the Olympia this coming year with...
We'll be at the Olympia, yeah.
Okay, cool. For DY Nutrition or for...
In there. I believe I'll be there with Dark Sport. I got a clothing collection with a company called Dark Sport, so we're going to be there. I'm not sure if DY Nutrition are going to be there yet. We got a lot of demand from the States, but we're just like, we relaunched the brand with some new investors and a new look and new products and everything, and it's just flying. So I know we got a lot of people from the States wanted to get a hold of the product, but it's not practical for us to send it from Europe to the States. It's just long term, and the FDA don't want us to do it and this and that. So we got to set up manufacturing and everything in the US. So whether we get that going before the Olympia and we're there to display, I don't know. But anyway, we're working on it for those who are interested.
Well, when you're there at the Olympia, I'll connect up with you and say hi. I would love to be able to do that. But are you at the, what was that?
I was going to say bring me some good weed, but you don't have to bring any weed because Vegas has got
Vegas has got it all there, man. Like now it's all legal, so you can just go to one of the. We'll go together. Shit, I'll go with you.
I went to the place there. I just got off the plane last time. A taxi driver, I'm like, take me to one of these cannabis places, man. And he took me to this place. It was like a fucking size of a warehouse. It was huge.
Yeah, well, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, some of those states, they have. I particularly like Colorado and I like Washington. They have, to me at least, the dispensaries I've been in. They just, everything's scientific. You got all, so you can see exactly how much. Yeah, it's like, and you just tell them like, I want this concentration or I want this much CBDs in it, and you can just find anything. It's really, and it's cheap and inexpensive and easy to do.
That's the good thing that you actually know what you're going to get now. I mean, before you just get weed.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully you get it.
You don't have a fucking choice. You just get what you're given, right? So you don't know if it's high sativa or indica or you just got CBD in, or you don't really know. It's just luck. So that's a very positive thing.
Yeah, this is the way that all of this stuff should be, right? Like if we researched it and we put some time into it and made it safe, because instead of trying to learn, it's just the same thing I feel about steroids in bodybuilding. That if like, man, there's no way to take it out. You're not going to take people's desire out of the equation, and you're not going to take the drugs out. If there's a way to enhance this process, people are going to use it. So you might as well make it safe. And instead of, I've never quite gotten the logic of why we want to control the actions. I get it from a certain level, like when people say, "Oh, it's unhealthy," but that's just kind of crappy logic because
it's unhealthy, man. I mean, the government don't care unhealthy.
Well, nobody does. Like when somebody tells me, "Oh, well," or they might ridicule me for maybe my drug usage in the 90s or when I was a bodybuilder. I said, look, man, I'm healthier than most people who are 40, almost 50 years old, and it has nothing to do with that. I don't think this has anything to do with health. It's like nothing at all.
Even if it's not good for your health, I mean, people should be able to make their own choices,
exactly.
And as long as it's only impacting them,
right?
It's your life, man. How can they
exactly. Well, that's my point. My point is that why do you care why does this person, anybody care what I do to myself as long as I'm not hurting anybody else? Right.
Well, there's a huge industry there, especially in the United States. You've got the prison industry, which is fucking huge, yeah?
The prison industrial complex is what most people don't realize here in the United States is a for-profit industry, and it's...
Absolutely, I know that.
And it's bullshit. It
needs constant...
Well, what irritates me is we're manufacturing laws, making it easier to incarcerate people so that somebody else can make money off of that, and that doesn't feel right to me.
That's absolutely the system, and then you've got this huge... like the DEA and all this law enforcement industry that's been created around it as well.
I think what they should do, if you get convicted of a federal crime, depending on the person, send them off to Costa Rica and go on a journey and see what you feel like when you come back.
Send a few of those politicians over there, I think.
Easy. Well, I think everyone should be in the process of knowing themselves, right? But more, and when you do, when like you said before, you realize you're connected to everything, and then some of the things that you once thought were important aren't quite so important anymore.
But you don't want to do things that may impact other people in a negative way, like because we're all connected, so you have empathy now.
So, given all this, last question for the day: what would you like? Because a lot of people wanted me to talk to you about some other things in bodybuilding because that's what they wanted. But I'm more interested in some of in the whole gamut of things. But what would your best advice be to some of the up and coming bodybuilders who some of your fans or some people who come up to you today and they see this? You really, in my way, I see two Dorians. I see the Dorian of Mr. Olympia and I see the Dorian today. Which, by the way, I infinitely like the Dorian today much. But
it's more evolved, the Dorian of today. But it doesn't mean. Like I said, I still have all the knowledge of the Dorian of the past, and I train people in the gym, and I train guys for contests sometimes, limited amounts, and they get the benefit of all that knowledge. I don't need to lift the weights for them, so they lift the weights. But what's my advice?
Yeah, to a guy, the young guy or gal who wants to be Mr. Olympia.
When I was competing, so if it's really about focus. Whatever, man. I don't care. Bodybuilding, relationship, business.
I agree, 100%.
Your thoughts, and it's about your focus. And the energy flows where your attention goes.
Amen. Yes.
You back what you put in, man. I mean, I just put everything into my bodybuilding, and I got everything back. Maybe some other things in my life suffered because of that, but my attention went there, and I got from a backstreet gym in Birmingham in England to win the Mr. Olympia is like a fucking impossible story, but I didn't accept that it was impossible. I believed in it and I kept going for it. But not that everyone can do that, but what I'm saying is it's all about your focus.
I don't know if people really understand what you mean by focus.
Even if you're ill, right, and you're focusing on, I'm ill, and you're fucking telling everyone you're ill, right. And you're just going to get, you're not going to get quick, you're not going to get well quickly. Right. So let's try to be positive and then try to catch your thoughts, even your speaking. Try to keep it positive and not speaking bad about yourself or other people and stuff like that. And focus on positively putting your energy into whatever it is, bodybuilding.
I think a lot of people, when I hear a lot of kids these days, or guys and gals these days, they talk about, I'm focused on this. I don't know if they really have the same kind of focus that you're talking about to get to the level of greatness in any endeavor, whether it be bodybuilding or whether it be in their relationships or their careers. It takes what you're really talking about takes an immense amount of focus, and a lot of people just they toss around these words like this. I know what you mean by it, and I want to make it clear that it means, like, because you said I wasn't really a nice person, and the reason why a person might say that is because when you only care about this objective and everything has to feed this objective. I mean, literally, because I know this feeling. Yeah. Then people come up to you and say, I remember for years people said, Tad, you're a fucking selfish dude. And I'm like, hey, man, this is what I'm about. Like, this is who I am. Like, it's the only way I was able to accomplish it. And I know it must feel the same way. But then...
Absolutely, I get it all the time. You're selfish. I'm like, this is a selfish endeavor. It's like my body, and this is the thing I'm working on. So it's going to be a bit selfish because it's like all about this thing that appears to be me. Well, I always kind of saw it a bit separately, like almost like it was a project or a statue.
Oh.
It wasn't really me because I didn't need that body to walk around with, man. I was happy with the physique I had after 12 months training. That would have been great to go to the beach.
it's kind of funny because I never saw it that way. I always saw it as intimately part of myself, but that's just a different perspective kind of a thing. I grew up really disliking what I saw in the mirror. Like I was this little tiny, I was 97 pounds when I was 15. That's when I started bodybuilding. So, but I'm Japanese. I'm part Japanese and part British, but I'm 5'7". I'm not like a big boned, I'm not a big guy. And I remember growing up, like I'm picked last for kickball. I'm like, like nobody wants to, like I'm like the kid, like, like, oh, you could take him.
Had that kind of insecurity or whatever it was, the feeling that you wanted to get rid of it.
Exactly. And bodybuilding.
I didn't start from that because I was athletic and muscular and strong. So, I didn't really come from that. I'm like, this is something that I enjoy and I could fucking be good at it and I can change my life because it's not looking too great.
Was that like an epiphany moment? I'm just curious, like, because I've heard you say this before, like you were working out, I think it was maybe a year into it or whatever it was. You said, hey, I could actually be, people are telling me I can be good at this and I think I can be good at this. And then you just sort of flicked over your mindset, or was it just like?
I got spent some time in a youth jail, a few months when I was 18 years old. And when I went in there, I had done a little bit before. I'd done karate, I'd done some weights, I had the bodybuilding magazines. But I was, left home at 16. I was on the street, not able to go to the gym and stuff like that. So I went there, and that's where I was like, fuck, I'm stronger than anyone, and I got the physique's better, and this is something I can do. And even the prison officers that were doing they were doing the gym, they were like, kid, you should start with this when you get out. And they said, like, because we're doing powerlifting in there, they didn't like know what bodybuilding was, so we're just doing like the basic stuff. You could be a great powerlifter, and I never wanted to do powerlifting. I always wanted to do bodybuilding.
It would be kind of funny to hear what some of those people, hey, yeah, I knew that kid when he was in, like, to see how he turned out.
I was knocking around still, man, like, they're still on their own.
It's kind of amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of people, they all told me, like my story was, they all said, oh, when I remember coming back to school after I'd found these bodybuilding magazines, these Flex and Muscle Fitness magazines in the store when I was 15. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm like, you can get this big, I'm going to do this. So I go to school, I show everybody, like, hey man, this one. And every single one of my friends laughed at me. They were like, except for my brother, I have an identical twin brother. They all laughed at me. They said, dude, have you looked in the mirror? Like, you picked the wrong sport. Like, you should pick swimming or something, like. And I'm like, nope, fuck you. I'm like, nope, you just wait. And the funny thing is, what was that?
You proved them wrong.
Yeah, well, years later, they would all come back to me and they go, hey, we knew you could do it. Like, we knew you could do it. Like, I appeared in the magazines, I won a national title, but I also was the first, like, I tell people, like, in the 90s, I was the first diet coach online offering contest prep services and stuff. And people thought it was fucking nuts. They were like, who's going to buy this? They don't know you. You need to be in the gym with them. I'm like, no. I'm like, why would I don't have to do this. Like, what most people were coming to me anyways for was my knowledge on the drugs or on the nutrition, all the stuff that I didn't have to be in the gym for. And so, I had, out of graduate school, I had worked for Oracle. I was the top sales guy there at Oracle as an enterprise sales, software sales rep. And I helped all these companies going to the internet who were just emerging in the early 90s. And I was making all this money, but I hated what I did. So I was like, you know what? I was still helping other guys and I was still competing myself. I was like, I'm going to dedicate my entire life to this. So I bought a gym and I changed my life. And then I became the Diet Coach. And it was, and they said the same thing then as they did. So I find that people just tend to speak from their own identification of what they believe is possible for themselves. So they think, oh, you can't do it. Like, how can you do this? It's only for special people. Well, guess what? We're all special. This is my special. So it's like, so I could totally get that. I definitely saw myself as a work in progress for most of my life until most recently. So most recently, and which is why all this ayahuasca stuff and all these other things are so fascinating to me because, the funny thing is, like, from the time I was 19, 20 years old, when I was first getting into college and then into graduate school, I studied, I went to seminary, studied religion and ethics and theology. And I studied it for one reason only. Everybody thought I was trying to become a pastor or something. No, I studied because I wanted real enlightenment. I wanted to know who this thing was that I'm walking around in and why is this experience so critically important for me? And what I found out was that it is all about the experience.
Yeah.
At least so far. It's all about the experience. And there's no...
That's all you, right?
What was that?
That's all you take with you. That's all you take with you.
Exactly. It's all you take with you.
Experience and your effect that your experience had on other people's experiences.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all that exists, man. Like,
and as I sink my teeth into that, it really becomes makes life a lot more enjoyable. And all the things you think were important, I thought was so important before, because I grew up really poor. So for the first part of my life, it was like all about making money, all about being successful, all about what I thought everybody else thought was success for me. And that would make me feel good. It turned out that as I was doing that, I wasn't feeling any better. I was just feeling worse. I was like, shit, like I gotta, like the more, there's a funny saying, like the more stuff you have, the more you have to do to have it, so to speak. And
more problems to maintain it. So there's a balance.
Like lately I've been gravitating towards this idea of minimalism. Have you heard about this? I love this idea.
Minimalism, I get it. Like most of the shit, we don't need it.
We don't need it. Like there's this whole group there's two guys that wrote this, I think they're professors. They wrote a book called Minimalism, and essentially you get rid of all the things in your life that you don't need, and you exist. Like some people do it with like 33 things. You like select 33 things. Imagine only owning 33 things, and then if you buy something, you get rid of one thing. So you're always. And I heard this. It was a special on Netflix, and there was an executive. She was a lady who adopted this philosophy, and she said she thought, oh man, I really thought when I got rid of all this stuff, and that I would go to work, because she was an executive for a company. She said, I thought everyone's going to know I only have like one suit. Everyone's going to know I'm not going to fit in. And she said after about 6 months, she realized nobody fucking even noticed. Nobody cared. So
people tailor their behavior and the things they're doing because of these influences that they think, what are people, first of all, the people aren't even, maybe they don't even care, but even if they do, who gives a shit, man?
Exactly.
You got to live. Your life is your life. You got to live that. As long as you're not harming other people, I think you just got to live it the way you want to live it, man. Otherwise, you're going to be regretting later on that you didn't do that.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. This, like you said, this whole life is about our own individual, unique experience, and I don't think that anybody has the ability to be able to transpose their experience on anybody else. So it's ludicrous to try to make people fit.
I'm too busy living my fucking experience.
Exactly. One of the things that I always talk about with my girlfriend, and she kind of complains that, she'll say I'm selfish about something, and I'll say, well, who else am I supposed to be selfish for? Like, my job here is to take care of me, and if I can help others during the process, I absolutely want to do that. But it is my job to do me.
Well, if you don't take care of yourself, man, you can't help anybody, right?
Well, precisely. I have nothing to give.
I gotta go. Man.
All right, my friend. Hey, Dorian, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and talk with me.
Listen, you got my contact. Let's stay in touch, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna do this.
Take a look at soltara.co.
Yes, I am.
Look for the Week with the Shadow there. It's June the 2nd or something, and you can see the facility. You can see all the stories. You'll get the picture, man. It would be great to have you there.
Yeah, I'm planning on me being there. I'm planning for it. I may bring one or two other people. I think I even talked to Arash. Arash Rabar? He's one of the top physique guys, classic physique guys. He's interested in that. A couple other people are as well.
And it'll be like the most fucking amazing week of your life, I promise, man.
Oh, awesome, man. Well, thank you again so much. I'm gonna look at. It's on June or July.
June 2nd.
June 2nd. That's like 2 days. That's 3 days before my birthday. My birthday.
There you go.
Like a birthday present.
Go check it out, man. Check the website out, and you can see where it's located and all the stories and everything.
It's called. What's the website again?
Soltara.co.
SOLTAR.
TARA. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll put it on the notes on this on the.
You're on my WhatsApp, right? I'll send you the link to my camp as well.
Perfect.
It's direct.
Perfect.
Okay?
Awesome.
Right.
Hey, thanks, Dorian. You have a good evening, my friend, and thank you for spending the time with us. I appreciate it.
All right, bro. Cheers.
All right. Love you, brother.
Handle your high with Tadayoshi.